crack open a cold one with the
Crack open a cold
boys,
one.
or
No, with no boys. I don't have any
with the
boys here.
half boy right here,
Oh.
maybe.
We're creeping closer to 5 p.m. in which my joke is no longer funny.
What's your
Because I was gonna say that at the last minute, I decided to take a shower and that it was 5 o'clock somewhere, so I am now valid. It's a
yeah
little less funny now that it's like 4:30, but you know.
yeah? Sorry about it.
No worries, no worries. Like I said, I decided to take a shower at like 4:06, and I was like, we're gonna make it work.
That's good and that's functional. I love that. I love that for you.
Oh, also, if
Mhm.
you're new to the show, hello, I'm Cody.
Oh yeah, hi. I'm Elle.
This is the Horror Corner. We talk about
Yeah,
scary, spooky things.
yeah, and a
And
cozy.
this week, I'm not telling anything spooky, but um, I, I, what was I gonna say? I don't.
I don't know, man. It's your brain.
Is it even my brain half the time? I have no idea. But
Who
Al
knows?
just informed me shortly before recording that they have a doozy, so I'm assuming it's going to
hmm
be spooky on their end.
hmm I mean, yeah, it's gonna be spooky and also scary, not because of ghost, but because of I don't know how to say it without giving away a part of my story.
For now, I wanted to introduce the show and also ask you if you had listened to this week's And That's When We Drink episode.
Yeah, the one that was released last Sunday. I don't think so.
Oh my god, the M's part is terrifying.
Oh shit.
Absolutely, just I mean, it's terrifying. Like the ghosts part is
hmm
terrifying, but then there's also the things that went on there were horrific and should not have been allowed, yet they were happening.
Ugh.
So,
So
highly
like real
recommend.
world scare plus paranormal scare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what my story is gonna be, and not like to that level of like terrifying. God, now I have to listen to that episode tonight. I
Yeah, no, like
guess.
absolutely just a bunch of shit happened at the place that they're talking about this week, and I'm just like, oh my
hmm
god.
I'm so into
Such
it.
a good
Oh,
episode.
okay, okay. I will listen to it tonight and then report back.
Great.
Great.
ATWWD fan podcast over. Nice car alarm.
God, I swear, in this new apartment, there's a fucking car alarm every day for some length of time. That one was
uh,
fast.
the apartment building across the street constantly has their fire alarm going off, and I don't
hmm
know why, who's doing it, because everyone always evacuates, so it's not like it's just like a
Oh my
pre-informed safety
god.
test. They're always like going out there with their cats, and they're like, all right, not again.
With their cats. Oh my god. Yeah, I wonder if there's like a story there. Like, does the same person keep like burning something over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
Is it intentional? Are they like, I don't know if like cooking meth like causes fires, but like, are they like repeatedly doing something that they shouldn't be, but that is worth it?
I have no
not,
idea.
not
Bacon. Bacon is always worth
I'm
it.
sorry. I'm sorry. I just insinuated that cooking meth is worth it,
Oh.
which that's not
I
what
don't
I'm
know
trying to
if I'm
say
allowed
here.
to confirm or deny that
I would say that
on
you're
air.
definitely allowed to deny it on air,
Okay. Then I deny
but
that it's worth it.
yeah. Oh,
Amazing.
I do have a life update
Yes,
though.
please.
So I went and explored the cemetery across my street
Mm-hmm.
finally. And okay, so I did that, and then I set up a little like memoriam for my grandma who passed away in January, and
Hmm.
ever since then, I don't want to say that I feel a presence because that feels dumb, but what I will say is that skateboard Hollis's cat was sitting on my bed the
Hollis's
other night.
cat is named Skateboard.
Skateboard, Kitty, Mr. Tumnus. He has a lot of different names.
I
But like
am 200%
skateboard
here
is
for it.
like unanimous. Yeah.
Love it.
But like skateboard was sitting on my bed and he was just like watching something that was not there and turning his head as if like someone, as if like a human was like walking across my room at like human walking pace. And then it like went full circle across the room, and then I was like next to my bed, and then his eyes landed straight on me, or like
Oh
something
my god.
behind me. And then after that, he just like looked, and then it's like, oh, okay, I guess that thing that I was looking at is gone. I don't care anymore. Time to swat Susan's tail.
You were absolutely. This is so creepy. You're gonna absolutely hate this week's episode of And That's How We Drink.
Yeah.
Because, oh my god, it's so. I can't say any more than that. You just have to
Okay.
listen to it. I just. Ju- uh, yeah. The cat's involved. I can't.
The cat's involved.
This
Oh
is
boy.
terrifying. I hope your apartment is safe. Like,
Yeah, I haven't told Hollis about it
I
because
just,
they
you and
got
Christine
on
have
me.
both moved into a new house slash like apartment and like creepy shit's
Mhm.
happening and I'm stressed for you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if it's anyone, it's my grandma.
We
Because
hope so.
I made sure when I went to the cemetery not to piss anyone off.
Hmm.
Like I took Susan with me because we had like an all-day fire alarm testing, and so we just sat like at an empty plot in the graveyard. And I read aloud to the spirits. One, because reading aloud helps me with like comprehension. Two,
Mm.
because you can get away with almost any like otherwise strange human behavior in a graveyard, because it's like, oh, this person is mourning. It's fine that they're reading aloud Judaism's 10 best ideas
I mean,
to
you know,
this.
just read to a random grave. They don't know that you don't know the person, I guess. Unless it's
I
their
know.
relative and they're coming to visit that grave and you're like, excuse
Yeah.
me, I
No,
will
no,
be
no.
going now.
Yeah. It like was totally empty, so it was fine. But like at the end, I was like, okay, thanks for letting thanks for letting me hang out with you. I'll probably be back. I hope you have a good rest, etc. Because I did not want to bring anyone home.
I know, I feel like I'm probably cursed or something because I did a bunch of shit in the cemetery by my house.
Mm-hmm. All right, should we hop on in? Oh yeah, wait, I didn't ask you about your life. How's
Oh,
your
my
life?
life. Well, I've been drinking and it's only 4:30, so I mean, like,
Yeah.
no. I've recently become really obsessed with like a tabletop RPG group who does like live
Mhm.
stream sessions. They're called Hyper
Oh,
RPG. I'm recently just like super obsessed with them.
nice.
Mostly because like one of my favorite like white boy YouTubers did a couple sessions with them, and I'm like obsessed with him. And like they do like live streams every Sunday nights of
Mhm.
various RPGs, and the one I'm currently obsessed with is a like Stranger Things inspired sort of thing.
Um,
It's inspired by this thing that's inspired by Stranger Things. Does that make
mhm.
sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Okay. Yeah. So, but each episode's like 3 hours long because it's a live
Wow.
stream. And there's 23 episodes in this season. There's a second season that
Mhm.
just finished that also has like 20 something. So there's about like 50 something episodes in total. And plus like little side one offs mission things.
Mhm.
So I'm like currently obsessed with that. And like, it's so good because it's all improvised. So
Mhm.
like, they, you know, are trying constantly to crack the GM and like make him laugh.
LOL.
But he's like playing like a narrator character, so he never laughs, and it's a whole thing.
Mhm. I love that for you. Passions and hobbies are good.
Yeah, I originally turned it on because I was like, oh, you know, I'm trying to see if I can maybe run a game with my friends, and
Mhm.
I need like ideas for what system I want to use. Do I want to use do I want to use Dungeons and Dragons, or do I want to use a
Mhm.
different system like Call of Cthulhu or something? So I just wanted
Mhm.
to get a feel for kind of this system that they're using. Was it free? That's another big thing. Is it free?
Mhm.
Because I don't have any money to buy the books or
Mhm.
whatever PDFs. But I did find a
Yeah.
bunch of like free systems that I might want to use, and I think I settled on one. But I already had the story, so I'm like trying to figure out how to fit it in.
Mhm.
And I can't say too much on the podcast because my roommate is next door, and he's part
Oh.
of it. So
Oh, okay.
I wish I could tell you the
Gotcha.
story, but I can't even off podcast. So
Mhm.
that's the thing.
That's okay. That's okay. I Yeah, and the only reason I like knew what you were talking about just now was from my ex girlfriend Carrie
Hmm.
when we like did D&D like one time and then we broke up and then we
Right,
couldn't
like that
do
was
it
Call of
again.
Cthulhu. Yeah, it's a little bit different
Mm.
than D&D. Like the rule set's different, the character types are different.
Okay.
So the one that I'm picking, I'm like kind of on the fence still about, but like I said, like I did write a free PDF of it, so it's like
Mm.
more accessible to the person who does not live with us that we're playing with. And I can tell you what it is because he knows what it is already.
Yeah.
But Starfinder, which has like technomancers and like androids and
Mm.
aliens and stuff, and it's gonna be really cool.
Tell me a murder slash crime story.
Yeah, so I did promise last time that the next time we talked, I would tell you about the
Mm.
Canadian syrup theft heist.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I've brought that
Yes.
today, and
Bazinga! Oh, I'm so excited.
yeah, we're gonna talk about some more sweet things instead of traumatizing and grotesque.
Wow.
That was a
I'm
bad
so
segue.
into this. Well, I mean,
Okay,
it might be traumatizing and grotesque for the trees, but
no,
like, I mean, that's the only thing
just
I could think
they're
of.
penetrated. Is that what we're?
No, no, like, no, like basically it's like bleeding a tree. I'm I'm
Uh
talking
huh.
about this like I know how maple is extracted from trees.
Yeah, I mean, like you
I
put in the
just
thing and it like drips out.
oh yeah,
You basically
isn't
bleed
that
the
kind
tree of
of like
sap.
bleeding them? Well, trees don't have blood. Oh my god.
Syrup is their
I'm
blood.
fine. Exactly.
Sweet. Okay.
Sweet.
Just a little brief overview of this before we get started. Over the course of 2011 and 2012, a group of thieves siphoned 18.7 million Canadian dollars worth of maple syrup from 9,575 barrels at a FPAC facility in St. Louis. Nope, this is French, and we're not. Also, disclaimer before we start: I don't know French. I barely passed Spanish and
Mhm.
Japanese in college and high school, so French is definitely not my strong suit.
Yeah,
This does
that's okay,
take
man.
place in Saint Louis de Blanford, Quebec. My only exposure
Sounds
to
fine.
French is the Tour de France,
Mm-hmm.
in which
Okay.
I listen to the British broadcast. So, the FPAC, or the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, the FPAC is basically the group in charge of 77% of the world's maple syrup supply.
77%?
77%
Holy
worldwide.
guacamole. Holy maple syrup.
They started in 1958 in a region south of Quebec with a goal to protect maple syrup producers' rights as producers and to collectively market maple syrup. When I decided it was 5 o'clock here, I forgot that I had handwritten notes that I
Oh
can't read.
no.
Oh, God.
If you
Okay.
hold up if you hold them up to the camera, I can try to read them for
Yeah,
you.
do you want to swap notes today? Here, you read my notes
Yeah.
and I read yours.
Oh god. The glare is actually the problem here,
Yeah.
not your
It's
handwriting,
also
but
very out of focus. Okay. So they started in 1958 to protect the rights of producers and to collectively market maple syrup. This small group of producers eventually inspired a larger agreement across all of Quebec in 1966. So started outside of Quebec, and now they're like, all right, we're going to expand to include everybody in Quebec
mhm.
specifically.
So to include all of the workers, you mean, right?
Producers.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry. The
I
producers.
don't think it's individual workers. I think it's
Mhm.
mostly just like individual companies that
Okay.
collectively produce
Got it, got it, got
syrup.
it.
So, however you want to divide that in within your own company, I feel like that's up to your discretion.
Okay.
But they enforce collective marketing, which is
Mhm.
quote, together the producers establish policies, negotiate their selling strategy, enforce production quotas, set up quality criteria, and sponsor promotional activities.
Okay. I
So
think I know what that means.
okay,
Maybe.
so basically everyone's like, okay, we're gonna decide on quotas that you have to meet. You have to negotiate sort of how you're going to go about marketing all of your like your business and how you're going to sell it, and then we also want to regulate the quality of the maple syrup that goes out from
Mm-hmm.
this region, and you have to like, I guess there's a guideline for sponsoring promotional activities that promote your syrup, or like I guess like sponsorships
Mm-hmm.
of other things like bike races is the only thing I can think of right now. I don't think they host bike races in Quebec. That's not what they do.
Yeah. Definitely not in the winter, at least not in the winter. I think we can safely say that.
Right. Speaking of winter, though, the reason why they kind of enforce this production quota, quality assurance, whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
regulation across all companies is because of winter, I guess,
Oh.
or whenever they produce maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a particularly bad year because of weather and they don't produce as much syrup,
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason why FPAC exists is to kind of, is mitigate the right word? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like it
the,
sorry, like provide a cushion.
yeah,
Yeah.
for when they have a bad year and they don't produce as much maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Because FPAC goes around and collects, or has companies deliver syrup to their facilities where they
Mm-hmm.
store it and sell it for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like the middleman going out to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, like, if there's a bad year, they do have, like, a reserve.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they like put away a certain amount of maple syrup to use as an emergency supply.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Basically, like when an elf he has that like bottle of maple syrup just up his sleeve. Is that right? Right? That's what they do in Quebec?
I have no idea. I was going to compare it to when you lose your job. You should probably have
Yeah.
a stockpile of money
Yeah.
somewhere, even if it's just Monopoly money, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And here I am referencing Elf,
I
beloved
don't
Christmas
think
movie.
I've seen Elf in like 15 years.
Oh, really?
It's been a really long time. It was not a household staple.
Yeah. I
Our
mean,
household staple was Santa Claus
mm,
and 12 Dogs of Christmas.
mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Will Ferrell is trash though, right? Because he
Will
did
Ferrell?
blackface. Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know he's in the Lego movie.
And then the Lego movie.
That's
Cool.
him, right? I think. I don't
I
know.
I've never seen the Lego movie.
Oh, God.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm the
It's
one who's
okay.
interrupting everything.
It's okay. Um, Producers don't have to join FPAC, and if they don't have to do, like, they don't have to meet any of these requirements. They can just run their business how they want to.
Hmm.
But for those who are part of FPAC, it is actually law that they follow all of these requirements
Okay.
because FPAC is a, quote, government sanctioned private organization.
Okay. Sounds like
So,
something that would not be around in the United States.
uh, we'll get into it.
Okay. Okay.
Just kidding, we won't because I left it out. But people call them a government sanctioned cartel.
Okay. Cartel as in like negative connotations
Yes.
or okay. Okay, got
Yes.
it.
They literally call it a government sanctioned cartel because of the like part of their marketing strategy is like holding a strategic reserve known as the
Mm-hmm.
International Strategic Reserve, the ISR, not to be confused with the IRS in the United States, but the
Mm-hmm.
ISR, International Strategic Reserve, also known as the Global Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve, where one barrel of maple syrup
Oh
is
my
worth
god.
$1,200 or $2.88 per pound. Now,
Wow.
I barrels are pretty big.
Yeah,
Um,
but
and
like oh my god.
and to put this a little bit more into perspective, um, 1 pound of maple syrup is worth 10 to 18 times more than U.S. crude oil.
Okay. Wow.
So U.S. crude oil, absolutely worthless.
Totally
Maple
worthless.
syrup, that's gonna
Very
get you the
worthy.
money. Um,
I'm just very interested about when in history maple syrup became such a hot commodity.
yeah, I don't know. I
I
didn't
don't
I
know.
didn't look up the history of maple syrup, but like
Hmm.
I can definitely see why people call it a government sanctioned cartel because they're literally just it's like makeup, right?
Like,
You just like
yeah.
mark it up a whole bunch and sell it off and like literally
Hmm.
everywhere in Canada, no matter where you go, there's like maple leaf shaped things, there's maple syrup flavored things. Like
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
it's a staple that they can heavily profit off of.
Yeah, for
Um
sure. Kind of like
so
Seattle and
yeah,
coffee,
right.
maybe. Yeah.
I guess. I don't
Or
again,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's become like a cultural thing, not
Mhm.
just a
Yeah.
economic thing. Got
Yeah.
it.
But it's become such a big thing that they actually have three main warehouses. I don't know how big the warehouses are, but their warehouses in general are usually
Hmm.
pretty big if they're owned by a
Pretty
giant
big.
corporation. And so they have two in Antoine de Tilly, again French names, and Plessisville. That's probably also wrong.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and then they also have one that's like brand new that opened in 2011 in St. Louis de Blanford,
Cool.
whatever you want to call it. Each of these facilities are only inspected once a year,
Oh, great.
and in
That's a
2012,
long time ago.
yeah, in 2012, when they came in to inspect it, they found that something wasn't quite right.
Uh-oh.
Page turn. The ISR exists so that FPAC can maintain profit margins in years where there are poor weather conditions, like I mentioned, and not a lot of maple syrup. So this basically ensures that there's always a steady supply with no shortages or gaps due to uneven production numbers. I guess maple syrup, when sealed correctly, this is the only thing I really googled about maple syrup.
Hmm.
The only like when maple syrup is sealed correctly in a jar or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever container it's in, it basically lasts forever in the freezer.
Cool. Nice.
So I guess they can just keep it as long as they need to, unless until they're ready to sell it.
Hmm.
And they're like temperature controlled facilities. I'm
Got
still
it.
not really sold on how you can store syrup indefinitely, but this is
Hmm.
kind of. I didn't go to
Yeah.
any sort of like official maple syrup storage website. I just like looked up
Hmm.
how long does maple syrup last,
It's
and
like
they're like a bunch
forever.
of people were like, "Oh, put it in the freezer and it lasts forever." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah. People like say that about honey too.
oh yeah, that makes sense."
Hmm. I guess
Hmm,
if it's like sugar doesn't go bad. Really?
interesting. I never thought about that.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, I just the general consensus seems to be that like if you leave it unopened or like properly sealed, it'll just last
Hmm.
forever in the freezer.
Yeah.
So that said, I guess that's kind of why they probably do inspections only once a year because they don't need
Mm-hmm.
to like make sure the inventory is still good. They just kind of come in and make sure it's
And what do they inspect? Like just
probably
like
just numbers, make sure they're meeting their
okay.
quotas.
Yeah.
Um,
Gotcha.
when Inspector Michael G, whose last name I cannot actually pronounce, so I'm
Hmm.
just gonna shorten it to G.
Yeah.
When Michael G came in to do his yearly check in fall of 2012, he tried to climb up some of the barrels and almost fell because the normally super sturdy, solid 600-pound metal barrels were actually in fact very empty.
Hmm.
Um,
That sounds bad.
Police suspected that it was an inside job because, like, who the heck would come out to all these facilities and just, like, steal maple syrup? Also,
Hmm.
like, how do you get in, I guess? I don't know. There's probably some, like,
Yeah.
security stuff that they had to inspect and,
Yeah.
like, investigate.
If
But
it's
they,
like that expensive, I'm guessing they've got
yeah,
security systems.
they figured out that the thieves transported the barrels to a remote, quote, sugar shack, is what they call them. It's great. To siphon off the syrup from the barrels. And originally they were replacing the syrup with water. But over time
Mm.
they stopped filling it with water. They were just taking the syrup, which is why the barrels were empty instead of 600 pounds filled with something, but not necessarily
Yeah.
syrup.
Why would they stop filling it with water? That's such a good idea. I mean, if
Probably
you're
just
gonna
because like it's a lot
still,
of work. If you don't
yeah.
want to dilute the syrup that you're taking, you can't just like dump it in. You gotta like slowly do the thing.
Oh,
Because
wait. So they're.
they were taking a little bit at a time at first, and then
Okay, okay, okay.
they ended up just starting to take more and more and more. And
Hmm.
because this is over the course of 2011 to 2012, so I think it's about like 6 to 8 months, I believe, is what they were saying.
Hmm.
But basically, they were siphoning it off and like replacing it with water, and then returning it to the warehouse. So the barrels would still be there, and unless you tried to climb up them, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, and that's like what I was thinking. Like they probably wouldn't have gotten caught if Michael hadn't climbed on the barrel and almost fall off, right?
Yeah.
Fell off,
Yep. Falled
falled,
off.
falled off.
Some of the stolen goods that they siphoned off, or that they rebarreled, I guess, at the Sugar Shack,
Yeah.
were driven down to a. Some of it was trucked east to eastern Canada,
Hmm.
in New Brunswick, and some of it was trucked down south to Vermont to be sold there.
Hmm.
But the ones that went to New Brunswick, they sold privately, in small batches to legitimate syrup distributors who didn't know where it was coming from. They just kind of like sold it without a label, and they're like, "Hello, we have
Hmm.
syrup, take it." And I
Yikes.
assume they were outside of FPAC because I feel like maybe some of them would have reported it, or like FPAC would have come in and
Hmm.
been like, "Hey, you have more syrup now." Also, you can't sell directly if you're with FPAC, I don't think. So you have
Hmm.
to sell
Hmm.
to FPAC, they pay you back, or they pay you, and then you go on your way. I don't think
Yeah.
you ever see the like direct market line.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, they sold it privately, so I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so this was like over the course of 6 to 8 months, and they were fined. Some of them were put in prison for this.
Yikes. Hmm.
One of them, Richard Valeris, also probably French that I pronounced wrong, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. He was fined 9.4 million Canadian dollars plus 14 years if he doesn't pay the fine. His father,
Wow.
Raymond, was convicted of possession. I don't know of what. Possession of what?
Wait. Possession of maple syrup.
It just says possession. But
That could be anything.
I know,
What the
right?
fuck? Yeah.
But he and his son Richard were like supposedly the ringleaders of the whole operation.
Gotcha.
Sebastian, I don't even know what his last name says at this point. My handwriting's so bad. Was the trucker involved in the heist, or one of the truckers involved in the heist? I don't know if there were more involved, but he was definitely one of them that was caught. He served 8 months in prison. I didn't look up the names beforehand because I was like, I'll just fake it till I make it, or just pretend, which is what faking is.
Oh my gosh.
But this person's last name is Saint Pierre.
Cool.
You can look these all up on Wikipedia if you really want to know
Hmm.
how they are pronounced, and if you want to send me a pronunciation guide in the Gmail, our Gmail is horrorquarterpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you in
Nice.
advance.
Actually, my sister might
I'm
be
so
able to.
sorry.
And my sister might be able to help because she's like fluent in French.
I just
I
feel
just
extra bad
remembered
because I know you
that.
took extra time before this to like figure out your pronunciations, and here I am, the asshole who's like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Uh,
Like, then I forgot about these names at the end.
that's
But this
okay.
person, who I believe is a woman, whose last name is Saint Pierre, she was a silver seller, nope, syrup seller, based in New Brunswick, who sold the stolen syrup.
Okay.
So she owned
Hmm.
one of the private businesses who were able to like do the direct sell sort of
Hmm.
business.
And she like was in on it.
She was definitely in on it, yeah.
Okay. Wait. To
She was the
clarify,
one receiving
she
all the stolen
didn't.
syrup
Oh, okay. I
and
thought
selling it
you
through
meant
her
that she was a
company.
company that was receiving it but didn't know where it was coming from.
Yes, but
Okay.
I don't think like it I feel like you got to figure out where this is coming from, and it's like it's either
Hmm.
stolen or they have their own farm, and like in this case, they probably figured out that it was stolen but didn't care because
Hmm.
it's profit.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't know who this person is really. I just there's
Hmm.
let me take that back. I don't know who this person is. That's the fact, but
Hmm.
the wiki page and like every single article was just like here's the people involved,
Okay.
no background.
So just kind of like a list of
So the last
names.
person on the
Gotcha.
list was the alleged insider or like suspected insider into the
Hmm.
like FPAC warehouse, and it was Avik Caron again names,
Mm.
but their spouse worked in the FPAC warehouse, so
Cool.
they were able to like sneak everyone in,
Cool.
and they were sentenced to 5 years in prison with a 1.2 million Canadian dollar fine.
All right. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yep,
With what did the other guy have to pay? Like 9 million?
9.4 Canadian dollars.
Holy
Yep,
shit.
million Canadian dollars. Wow, fine of $9.4.
Wow.
I could pay that.
Mhm. Mhm. Maybe just barely. I could pay that too.
Whew. Yeah,
Who
it would be
knows?
a huge hit to my weekly budget, but yeah, that's whoa. I can make it probably maybe.
Nice.
If I just eat ramen for the rest of the week, we'll be good.
Mhm. Ramen and then your stolen maple
And
syrup.
my syrup, ramen with syrup. Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Mhm.
like an elf, where he makes like the
Yeah.
spaghetti with the candy and stuff. Yeah, it'd be
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
ramen, but like not in like soup. It'd be like just ramen
Yeah.
noodles cooked with like
Pop
syrup and
tarts,
like Pop
syrup.
Tarts and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to be so fascinated by that scene as a kid. I was like, that looks good.
I mean, that's the only thing I really remember. And then him trying to like cross the street.
Oh yeah, and
Oh, also him at the like desk at elf school, because I recently saw a like little clip about like how they pulled that off.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like it's all about perspective. It has nothing to do with like,
Mhm.
oh, they like visual affected him bigger or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, it's just how they like angled the camera and like built the set, and it's so cool.
Whoa.
All right, I'm gonna name my section
Mhm.
an elf breakfast. I think
Nice. I'll
all
have to check
caps
that out.
elf as well. Okay.
Buddy the Elf is part of the maple syrup cartel.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory.
Dun 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 dun. Illuminati. But yeah, so that's the maple syrup heist, the long-winded version of me just going
Mhm.
around in circles, not knowing how to pronounce anybody's names. The people involved were sentenced to prison, fined,
Mhm.
syrup probably not returned, but
Yeah.
I really have to wonder, like, how much of the fine was based on how much they were actually able to sell. Because, like,
Mhm.
is the damages, like, are they fined that much for the crime of theft?
Yeah. How much the actual losses were plus how much
They would have made from it.
they got from it. Yeah. Yeah. Who fucking knew that maple syrup would be at the beginning of it or at the head of a big scandal? Oh, that's like, did you ever hear about the molasses explosion of like 1919?
No, but I do love a good molasses cookie, so please tell.
Yeah, well, it might ruin a molasses cookie for you because
Well, then I'll just have to make ginger snaps because they're exactly the same thing. I looked it up
nice.
one day because me and my roommate, I made molasses cookies one day. He's like, "What the heck is the difference?" And I was like, "I honestly couldn't tell you. I just feel like there's one ingredient added to the other, but not this one."
Hmm.
And no, I mean, really, the only difference is that the proportions of ginger to molasses is different, and also,
Hmm.
ginger snaps are like the composition makes it snappier.
Yeah.
So go ahead and ruin molasses, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I learned about it in AP US history in high school, which was wild. And my teacher was like, okay, so 1919 might be the worst year in American history, and here's
Not
all that
2020.
happens. Not 2020, I
2020 was in the
guess.
future at that point, so
Yeah. But like, so you got like the influenza pandemic of 1919. horrible presidents, and then a lot of other stuff. But like, what's sticking with me now is like the Boston molasses plant explosion, where like boiling hot molasses was like flooding the streets,
What?
like burning people, drowning people. Horses died because they got stuck in the molasses.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it was really bad. And he's like, yeah, like, and molasses is slow, but when it's hot, it is fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
so
Okay.
that was a big
Never heard of this.
thing for Boston, I think. Yeah,
Listen,
like,
if that's what they're teaching in school instead of like important civil rights movements, I'll take it.
yeah. I mean, like, he did. I feel like that class was like my first framework for starting to learn about racial racial justice and just social justice in general, which is amazing. And then like there was this whole controversy about like, oh, AP US history is too sheds a bad light on America. We need to make the curriculum more patriotic. And that was like that whole bill was like making its way through as I was taking APUS history. I forget if it went through or not, but like they were like, let's just like minimize the part about the civil rights movement and talk more about white people.
It shouldn't have gone through, but it probably did.
Yeah, yeah. Like civil disobedience isn't gonna make our kids patriotic, so let's just cut that out of the curriculum.
Absolutely not. I've been.
Yeah.
I just. Never mind. Spook me. I will really do my best to just drink and not interrupt.
Okay, yeah. I did like built in some places where I'm gonna ask if you have questions.
Okay.
So it'll be good. Do you want to hear the title of my notes this week?
Yes.
Okay. It's called Can't Talk Vampires for 2 Seconds Without Also Talking About Anti-Semitism and Blood Libel. Sounds like a Fall Out Boy song title.
Yeah, just a little bit. My friend recently showed me a podcast episode about it's like a book podcast or like a reading
Mhm.
podcast, and they did a segment where it's like, is this sci-fi or the Bible? And I don't know. I don't think it's actually a recent episode. I think it's like a year ago, but she recently showed me this, and
That is so funny.
it's so good.
It's so true. Oh my god. Want to talk about vampires and Jewish folklore? Cool, because that's what we're going to talk about. You don't have another option. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Can I call in can I phone a friend and like?
this week, I want to dive into a topic that I've been thinking about for a long time. Vampires and Jewish folklore.
Yay!
Yay! Vampires and Jewish folklore.
I've been seeing a lot of Twilight on my feed lately, so I'm like very much in this mindset right now.
Yes, vampires are great.
I'm here for it.
The reason that it took me so long to get it together because I've been wanting to do it for like the last 4 times we've recorded, but I've always been pushing it off because I'm like I don't know how to research this, and it was complicated because like when you type Jewish vampires into a Google search bar, you don't really get the stuff that I was hoping for.
Was it just a lot of weird, awkward Twilight fan fiction?
No, it was like a lot of PhD dissertations on the trauma of vampire language and beliefs, beliefs that Jews were vampires, basically.
Okay, I was gonna say
So
is like the trauma of just the idea of vampires.
no, it's
People
like the whole
thinking they're
like
vampires.
yeah, it's like the whole blood libel thing. Like on Passover, Jews like murder a baby and drink the blood and
I
like
see.
all
I
that
see.
shit and like the Jews killed Jesus and all that. But
That's so dumb.
I know, yeah. So I don't. Thankfully, it was a lot of like Jewish journalists and researchers like pushing against that. Like I didn't have to see like Jews for Jesus being like, I don't know, don't celebrate Passover because if you celebrate Passover, you're celebrating blood libel. I don't know. But
Interesting.
yeah, so it
I
wasn't
realized at a very young age that Jesus was Jewish, and I got very confused as to why people cared about that.
uh-huh.
And I don't, I'm very confused as to why people care about that in this scenario as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's rough. I mean, it's something that we've been blamed for like ever since we rejected Christianity in like
That's true.
you drink baby's blood kind of thing. So, anyways,
Okay.
that whole anti-Semitism was like really tied up with the actual folklore. So it
Mm-hmm.
took like a lot of digging to like get through all of that like research and journalism into the actual like what does Judaism say about vampires? Because we've just been overwhelmed with like I don't know bad
What people
press.
think vampirism is in Judaism.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
This research excursion was probably like the most depressing that I've ever done. I probably won't be as depressing of the story, but I was just like really fucking sad after reading all
I
that
feel it.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just want a good Jewish vampire. Like why?
You gotta write yourself,
Yeah.
I
But
guess.
eventually I did get to them.
I have a problem with people who say, sorry, just tangent now that I have told my story and I don't have anything else to say. I have a lot more to say. I have a problem with people who are like, oh, like, there's not that kind of media out there that you want to see. Like, write it yourself, make it yourself. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
do you realize how much work it is?
Do you
Like, I
realize
mostly
how
take issue with, like,
depressed
people
I
who are
am?
not creatives or whatever that, like, or that can actually finish projects and they're just like, oh, just do it, make it yourself. And I'm like, I can't. I don't have the
At
energy
least
to go
not at
down that
this.
road and like think about that because it's just like it's so
Yeah,
traumatizing for me to think about it and then like
yeah,
to make it like try to be PC for everybody viewing it, I guess is an issue like be
yeah.
sensitive towards other people's feelings and ideas and like how they feel about I was basically mostly about like LGBTQ content, right? People are
Hmm.
like, "Oh,
Hmm.
I really wish like there would be this thing that exists or like, this perspective would be told." And it's just like, "Okay, go tell it yourself." And it's just like, "Do you understand how traumatizing it is for people to like think about this stuff in depth sometimes? Like some people are fine
Hmm.
with it. And like those are the people who go out and make content. But like me personally, I'm just like I don't want to talk about trans issues cuz like I get upset
Yeah,
even thinking about it. So like
yeah.
there's content out there that I refuse to consume because it makes me upset. And
Hmm.
like there case in point, there are two Netflix shows that came out or like seasons or whatever of shows that came out this summer that I'm just like
Hmm.
they look cool. A lot of people recommended them to me when I was looking for like queer shows to cover my channel, but I'm just like
Hmm.
I can't watch them. Like I can
Yeah,
already barely watch gay content because I'm like ugh, I get so stressed out.
yeah.
And like it just makes me sad. And
I know.
like
Yeah.
even though it's not like sad stuff, it's like Love Simon and like Love Victor, and I'm just like it's happy good content. It's like good representation for like teens and
Hmm.
stuff. And I'm just on a rant again. I this happens every episode, but I'm just like I can't do it. I have no energy
Yeah.
for it, and the people who do have energy, good for you, because like I know that if
Hmm.
I try to write a story, and like finish it, somebody's gonna be upset, and I don't have the energy to
Yeah.
take the criticism that I'm not covering your story.
Oh yeah. That's like a big issue for sure. For I feel like every writer, I
It,
definitely deal with that. Yeah. I forget where I was.
we haven't even started.
Yeah. I was talking about how I was really depressed researching this and
That's right.
reading about blood libel and trauma. Um, so we got all that, got all that out of the way, got my process out of the way. Um, uh, Next part that I want to talk about is, as I probably said before, there's just like not a ton of supernatural entities or supernatural power at B in Judaism compared to Christianity. In Christianity, there's like a lot more focus on the afterlife and original sin and like Satan and stuff coming from other dimensions onto Earth. And like Judaism, from what I've learned since I've converted, is a lot more like rooted in our own dimension and life here on Earth. Like whenever I've talked to another Jew about like, have you ever had any paranormal experiences? Like almost unanimously, except for my one friend, has been like, no, I'm so skeptical of that. Like that's just not in our tradition. Well, also context was like at synagogue. I like was asking about it,
Okay,
but
I was like, how deep in Judaism are they? Are they like uber
mm,
believers where they believe
mm,
like everything about it and they
yeah,
refuse to stray from the path, or like
it's
are
more
they
like
deeply religious?
yeah, it's more like modern Jews aren't so rooted in the in like actually believing in the superstitions as much as like 19th or prior my words. What's the word for not modern?
Pre-modern?
Pretty modern.
I don't.
I feel like I don't really know what I'm talking about, other that like belief in the supernatural and paranormal isn't highly prevalent
I usually just say
among,
like prior to the modern era.
yeah, prior to now, I'd say. Yeah, like most of the Jews that I've met are not like super have a strong opinion that ghosts are real and such, unless except for the Kabbalists that I've met. Like
I see. Okay.
then it's kind of more like spirituality, but um, like we're very much rooted in like our world as it is, and like I feel like Judaism doesn't really have an automatic like need to explore other realms and stuff because our job is in front of us already, kind of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, um, we also have talked about Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, and while the scope of like supernatural entities is like a lot smaller than in some other religions, like the quality makes up for it. I feel like,
Okay.
um, yeah, and so like the we have a pretty small scope of like vampire entities in Judaism, as opposed to like I don't know, like other cultures where you got like the Bram Stoker, like I don't know, like nail in the wooden stake. Um, yeah. So okay, so the introduction that I want to give us today about vampires and Judaism is just taking a look at a few different aspects of our vampire lore. So, like, first, we gotta talk about Lilith
Yes.
as possibly a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're going to talk about Lilith, Estries, and then the Lady and the Peddler.
Okay.
So a lot of vampire traditions began to appear among diaspora Jews living alongside other cultures in Central Europe. Then specifically, the medieval representation of Lilith seems to have given us like a main entry point to talking about Jews and vampire folklore. Um, she might have been like the OG vampire.
I would be 200% on board with that. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I already kind of view her as that just because of like pop culture.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Um, Lilith was allegedly able to transform herself into an animal, particularly a cat, and she could seduce victims with her irresistible appearance and
Feline Wiles.
feline wiles and her air of benevolence. And this is consistent with a lot of other Eastern European vampire lore, like the very attractive man, woman, person
I see.
coming to seduce you. Non-binary vampires. I want that. I want that
As the
so
title
bad.
or just in general?
No, no, just
Okay, because I was
like
about to write down
as a
Feline
thing.
Wiles as the title.
Yeah, okay. I'm definitely down with feline wiles.
Okay.
Um Yeah.
There we go.
Non-binary Wiles.
That also works.
That also works. In one translation of this text, there's a story where Lilith has come with a host of demons to kill a mother, take her newborn, and to quote drink her blood, suck her bones, and eat her flesh. Lilith also confesses that she will lose power if someone uses one of her secret names at the end of the story.
Okay.
I did not read the Zohar myself. This was kind of just a Wikipedia account. Um, but diverging from vampires, Lilith usually strangles her victims to death versus draining their blood.
Okay.
So I don't know
Good to know. If I ever
if
encounter Lilith, I'll know. Sort of.
yeah if
Or
you
if
can just like
a
tell her
Lilith. Yeah.
you can just tell her like, hey, I prefer being strangled versus drained of my blood. Can you do me that one solid? Thanks, girl.
Or just both at the same time. Well, okay. I
Yeah.
would rather you strangle me to death first and then drink my blood, not the other way around. Can you
Yeah.
maybe ask for that?
Although
Like an
is it
order of operations? Like if you're gonna do both, just like change the
yeah.
order.
Isn't it sometimes like a thing with vampires though where like having your blood like sucked out is like a sexual experience?
I didn't want to go there, but yes.
Okay, because I would be down with that if
Have you seen True
Lilith
Blood?
wanted to. What?
Nothing. Nothing. Go.
Yeah. I just admitted that I would want to be drained of blood by Lilith for sexual gratification. Yep,
Oh,
that's me.
okay.
Hi, my family. Hi, mom and dad. God. Um, and like, okay, so this
We do
representation
not
of
kink shame in this house.
yeah, god damn it. But yeah, either
Unless it's
way,
murdering people, please don't do that.
please don't murder people. Please do not. Maybe we should have like a tagline like that, like at the end of Sawbones.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they say like don't drill a hole in your head. We could say like don't murder people.
Yeah, the dog podcast that I listen to is like, don't bite anyone unless I ask you to. It's great.
Don't murder someone and don't mess with a Ouija board.
We don't we don't kink shame unless it's murder.
Yeah. My God. I love it. King shaming or not, it seems like the Zohar is definitely king shaming Lilith. Um,
Shame on Zohar.
yeah, and like that's not great. We respect Lilith in this household, and there is a big precedent of people calling powerful women baby eaters. So like
That's
we could
true, isn't
just
it?
yeah, like we could just leave it at that and not try to judge like did Lilith actually like eat a baby's bones like
Does that go along with like witches specifically? Or is it just like people, well,
I
women because
mean
they're suspected of being witches who are
yeah, I
suspected of
mean
eating
like
babies?
I've definitely heard witches. I've also heard like baby eating feminists from like really right wing
Right.
groups. So like it's kind of used
You're right.
like casually almost. The casual
Widespread.
sexism. Yeah.
Got it.
Um so not that I don't love that the Zohar is like a very important text for Kabbalah. Not one part I'm like, mm, this doesn't really hold up, you know.
I feel that way a lot
Sorry.
about the Christian Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like love you but hate your wait. Love your hair, hate your guts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Um okay. Yeah, so other than Lilith, there are some stories that are much more traditional with their vampire vibe. Such as in the story called The Kiss of Death, where there's daughter of a demon king and she steals the breath of the man who betrayed her. So, like, that kind of is similar to the whole vampire kiss of death, you know. But she just, like, took she took his breath away. And then he died. I don't know how he betrayed her, but I'm gonna trust her judgment here.
Yeah.
Um,
Valid.
a rare story found in Sefer Hasidim features an old vampire named God damn it. I looked these words up so that I could pronounce them. Okay. Features an old vampire named Astri- Astraea. I'm just
Okay.
gonna leave out that. She uses her hair to drain the blood of her victims.
I love it.
I I also I'm not sure if that means that she strangles them with her hair, or like decapitates them with her hair, or like
Squeezes
if
their
her hair is
necks
just like
so tight
soaking
that they
up the
just like
blood.
crushes their neck and like she decapitates them.
Yeah,
That's a visual right there.
I know. And like as we go forward, there's going to be a lot of stuff with hair too, which I'm interested to kind
Yeah.
of try to interpret.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, so like there's like soaking up blood with hair. These are all spoilers. I don't need to tell you this right now. Let's
Okay.
just leave it at a woman's a woman's hair is important to her vampiric abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So now, I want to talk about estries. Um, estries are mostly female vampires, like well established in Jewish folklore. So, from my research, they're like the one vampire that is like just in its original form in Jewish folklore, other than like being translated from like some other culture or like added in later. Um, and estuaries are said to attack Hebrew citizens, sometimes while being a member of the community themselves. And then the name estuaries actually comes from the French word strix, which means night owl. So there's like a lot of association with these vampires and night owls
I see.
that I've come across.
Also,
Um,
not to be confused with the Nighthawk, once again.
you mean the safety hawk?
Yes, sorry, the Safety Hawk.
Yeah. Um, uh, and estuaries also closely mirror succubi folklore. Um,
Okay,
like
I can see
beautiful,
that.
powerful, femme, bloodthirsty, will steal your man's stolen blood.
Listen,
May
I wrote a fanfic
oh my god.
where the succubus does not steal your blood or your life force. It's an exchange of energy.
Okay. Through sex or
Yes.
I love
Nobody
it.
dies. Nobody has to die. Nobody swaps genders. Like,
Cool.
it's all just a power exchange. And you both feel a lot more powerful afterwards. Nobody dies. It's all
Wow.
good. Nobody sucks your
That's
blood.
what sex is really like. That's what they
Yeah.
should teach us in sex ed.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel good afterwards, not bad or guilty.
Yes.
Um,
Anyways, it's a. Wait, never mind.
yeah.
Fanfiction!
Fanfiction! Yeah. Something that we might not be able to get behind so easily, is that estuaries may also snatch a baby here and there
Okay.
because they might prefer babies for eating.
I have a
But
question.
again, hold on.
When is question time? I'll wait for question time.
Okay, after I say this one thing, but again, it's notable that estuaries are coded as female, and as we said before, a lot of powerful females accused of eating babies.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, what was your thought?
Oh, we kind of already touched on it, but like, all these are like powerful female figures, feminine figures.
Mm-hmm.
What about the male vampires?
Yeah. So I only came across one
It's
source.
coming along as a little bit sexist to me.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
it is. Sexist because there aren't any male.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Well,
That bad joke. All right.
there there isn't a lot of just like stuff that you can get off Google about male vampires. And
Interesting.
and there was only one source that said like usually female but can be male. And
Okay.
like
I mean, I'm
since
down.
the whole nature of this kind of folklore is to say that women are evil and will snatch your man, like it's kind
I can
of
see it.
yeah.
I see it. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Estuaries are said to need blood to survive, and they don't really discriminate super much uh, between who they attack. Except then another source tried to say that they prefer babies, so I don't fucking know. But like they need blood to survive, and that's very vampire esque, like consistent with other vampire lore. And then on a much more serious note, estuaries were also said to seduce and to rape men.
Okay.
Yeah, so like succubies.
Not as on board with this
Yeah, I
part of
am
things.
not at all on board. As yeah,
No.
felt like I should mention that though because hey, at least just this tradition is acknowledging like sexual assault against men. You know, is that
Yeah,
they're
I
kind of
guess.
acknowledging that it can happen. I don't know. I'm
I
trying
see where you're
to,
coming from, but
but
it's
like it's not enough to make up for any
yeah.
bad. Um. So yeah. Um. God, I don't know how to transition out of that part. Um.
Sweet.
Yeah. Ushers can also shapeshift, appearing as animals, often cats, but also they can transform into birds as well.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, maybe that's where the that's kind of consistent with bats, even though we know that bats aren't birds. But you know. Oh,
I mean,
and
is the
night
moth person a
owls
bird
too.
or an owl?
What? What?
Is moth person a bird, an owl, or a moth? Who
I
knows?
don't know. You know, I have watched them the Mothman Prophecies 4 times since I moved in.
Why?
Because okay, so Hollis has a toaster TV that they don't use, so I took it into my room, and there's like 3 movies out of their collection that I will consistently watch: The Princess Bride, The Mothman Prophecies, and Pirates of the Caribbean one.
Choice. Choice
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
I love it.
So I was watching the Mothman Prophecies on repeat while I was unpacking, and it's terrible. And I love that movie. I love it.
Is it?
Have you ever seen
It's
it?
not fictional, is it?
Oh yeah, it's 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 totally fictional.
Do I know what's going on?
What?
Have I seen this before?
I don't
Who's
know.
in it? What the heck?
A really hot silver fox. I don't know what his name is, but he's
Richard
very handsome.
Gere? Gere?
I don't know,
Let's see
man.
here.
I don't even
Richard
remember
Greer.
his
Gere.
name in the
Greer.
movie.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Gere. Laura Linney. Okay. I know who
hmm
she is. I vaguely know who Deborah Messing is. Nobody that I know.
It does like bump up the fun quality of a movie to watch it on VHS, I gotta say.
I will look into this. He looked like Harrison Ford on the cover for a second, which is why I got really excited.
Hmm,
But it's not him.
sorry about it. Okay, so they can appear as animals, human, or in spirit form. Um, and okay, so there's a story in Sephar Hasidim. I think it's 1465. And I keep seeing it everywhere in my research. And that leads me to believe that it's like a highly influential source in Jewish vampire lore. And it goes like this. So there are women called Estri who were created at sunset before the first Shabbat, before creation, making them like pre-human, shape-shifting entities that God didn't quite finish. At least that's the impression that I got, that they were kind of like God, like kind of like tested out on them, and then was like, "Hey, I got a different project," and then just kind of left them.
Highly relatable.
Yeah, yeah. God has ADHD.
Yes.
um, the story accounts for an estuary in human form who was very sick, and she was being looked after by two women one night. When one of them was asleep, the sick woman stood up, loosened her hair, and was about to fly over and suck the blood of the sleeping woman. Um, but the other caregiver was awake, and she screamed, waking her friends. Together, they grabbed the estuary, and after this, the estuary fell asleep. And then, since she was not able to feed on them, she died. Um,
Oh.
I know, yeah, it's like it's kind of
I
sad,
mean, I
like,
guess yeah, you defeated the Estri, but like,
but like
did she?
it's
Did they have to die?
yeah. One, it's not her fault if she
Mm-hmm.
needs blood to survive. Two, it's not her fault that God just kind of left them unfinished, you know. But also, they kill people and have been said to sexually assault men and kidnap babies. So it's like one of those like monster, but they can't help it
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
scenarios.
trying to think of like an animal that we eat where it's like,
Yeah.
why do we only eat non-threatening animals?
Bees.
No, no, I'm thinking like, why do we only eat non-threatening animals? Is it because we
Oh,
can keep them
it.
without worrying about that they'll kill us?
I think.
Like
I
cattle are
think.
pretty non-threatening unless you like stampede.
Yeah. I think. I
Chicken's pretty
think.
non-threatening.
I think
Pigs.
the not threatening animals also happen to be carnivores, and we don't really eat carnivores. We
That's
eat
true.
vegetarian animals. So, although we
Anyways,
can eat carnivores because I know that people eat deer and like birds
can you
that
imagine if cows were carnivores or omnivores and omnivorous? Like,
imagine if
we just keep
horses.
large amounts of horses and cattle, and like, fuck.
Yeah,
They could come after us any day now. I'm so sorry.
talking about vampires here. How do we? Oh, okay, okay. Oh, also interestingly, so this was like a direct quote, and I just summarized it. But then the account in Sephar Hasidim says the same is true for werewolves, but then just moves on.
Okay.
As and like no explanation about werewolves. It's like, wait, what?
Are there male
Excuse me?
werewolves? Are there?
Yeah, that's like a whole nother topic, I
I need
think
to know more
is.
about these werewolves.
Yeah.
I need to know. I was definitely Team Jacob growing up, so like
Oh
I need to
yeah. I
know.
was I was definitely team Edward.
I need to know.
Yeah. And now I'm team Jacob because Edward is bleh.
He was just creepy and
He was
like
just a fucking creep, yeah.
people who enjoy him, and at the time and like now think he's creepy. Like I never found him attractive in any way. I'm just like
Yeah, I think I was
I
in
don't feel
sixth
he's
grade.
sparkly. Like I like sparkly things, but he is not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
like
don't.
not what I cared about. I was just like 11 and I thought that the epitome of like a romantic relationship was
A
like
glitter
a
boy.
man, a glitter boy being there for you all the time and
That's too much.
like invading your life in like a positive way. Like I mean, one, I'm
They
gay
frame it as
and
positive.
I'm not into that anymore, but it was like if a boy cares enough about you to do that, then that was a win.
Okay, I can
Which
see
is
that.
fucked up. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm like fully like, no, that is terrible education, and I'm so sad that that's what I thought until I like went to college and had relationships. But
That's what you know.
yeah, yeah.
Hashtag
Um.
Team Jacob
So
all the way.
yeah. So the same is true for werewolves that they need to feed on human flesh or blood and they die, I guess. I'm just like I don't care. I don't care that this was like a million years old or like whoever fucking wrote this. I don't know like if God wrote this or Moses wrote this, but I'm like that is some serious information that you left out, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to go back and like revise this for clarity.
Yeah.
Can I make Torah into a PDF and like leave you some like review comments on it
Can you do
because
an
I
annotated version of a Torah?
can I like workshop this with you and so the theme of hair again shows up in this story because this estuary needed to loosen her hair before she flies and this um continues with the estuary folklore just in general, that they need their hair to fly. So then, to prevent an estuary from flying, one must bind her hair so that she cannot leave without permission.
Okay.
Um, I okay. I like kind of get the hair thing because hair and like and piousness for women is like a big thing in orthodoxy.
Mm-hmm.
Like like if you're married, you have to cover your hair. But like
Right.
of course like Jewish women are like fine, I'll cover my own hair, but I'm going to get a wig. So sorry about it. But
Right.
like it's like a big thing. Like women need to do different things with their hair depending on the marital status. So I guess like a female creature like pulling out her hair and just like having it down might be threatening. I don't know.
I mean, who wrote this? A
In
woman?
some way. Yeah, a man, I think.
Oh, there's no way to know.
No, I
Absolutely
don't
can't
know.
tell whatsoever.
If estuary are injured or seen by someone, they can't live unless they eat the bread and salt of the person who struck her. It's just like really weird specific stuff like this
Where
that
you just
like
like you can't
makes
look at
me.
them.
I know it's like there isn't as much supernatural stuff in Judaism as I originally wanted, but it's like the details are just bizarre and great, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like who the fuck would give the woman who tried to kill you bread and salt to save her life? Like, I don't know. Um, but anyways, it's been wild so far. Do you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns?
I think I've voiced all of them as we've been
Okay.
going, so I will try
Yeah.
to hold back any I have through the next section until the next question time.
Okay. Cool. Um, in that case, let's move on to the last story, The Lady and the Peddler. And
Okay.
this was from 1948. Um, and it's like, it's just a really sad story. It makes me really sad. And it details the journey of a Jewish peddler who went to a woman named Hilmi's house. And he was trying to sell his wares. Of note, Hilmi is extremely anti Semitic throughout the entire story. So hold on to your hats and kippas, folks. It's what I wrote. Kippa! I don't have a kippa on right now.
I have my usual hat
Yeah,
on, so
yeah. Hold
got it.
on to your
Holding on
hat.
to it tight. Got it.
Um,
Very secure.
so At first, she refuses his sales tactics, and she's just very rude about it, like pointing out that he's Jewish like every chance she gets. But then she sees a gorgeous hunting knife that he has for sale, and she decides that it is worthy enough for her, so she buys it. Um, the peddler, whose name is Joseph, he goes out to continue his peddling around, I guess, the neighborhood. Um, but then he gets stuck in the rain before he can find shelter. And then while wandering around in the storm, he finds himself back at Hilney's house. And he knocks on the door and asks if sorry, he knocks on the door and asks if he could stay in a barn of hers until the rain passes. And she very rudely obliges, all the while assuming that he's trying to swindle her. The next day though, the leaky roof in the barn comes up, and she asks him to repair it for her, and he does so without charging her any money, because it's also still raining, and he wants to be in her favor so that he can stay there longer.
I see. Okay.
Um, um, so he doesn't charge her for anything, so she lets him stay another night. And then days go by, and she keeps finding reasons to like keep him around. And eventually, this turns into a torrent love affair between them. Um,
Nice.
yeah. Well, nice for now.
Nice for now.
She waited on him like the quote perfect wife waits on her husband, feeding him, dressing him in fine clothes. The clothes are the clothes of her dead husbands.
Okay,
Which,
well, it depends on the circumstances of his death. If it's like she's a widower and he like died of some disease or like old
yeah,
age or whatever, like
that's not the circumstances.
that's what I assumed.
Yeah,
But I
but
didn't want to make any assumptions.
wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and
Yay.
it says that she fulfills all of his needs.
Ew. Didn't need to know that, thank
straight
you.
people, gross.
Oh, yikes.
And while Joseph enjoys this very much, after like a long time of living there, he wonders why, after living with her for so long, she never eats anything.
Ooh,
Uh-oh.
this is a concerning.
Yeah,
This is concerning.
that's a concern. So the relationship kind of then quickly spirals into quite an abusive um, couples. Wait, I'm just trying not to say relationship twice in the same sentence, but I'm gonna say it.
It's
The
fine.
relationship spirals into quite an abusive relationship.
I'm not gonna dock you any points here.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna dock them points, but like
yes, definitely gonna dock her points, them points. So he starts kind of asking questions, and is like, I want to leave, but it feels dangerous, and where will I go if I leave? So it's as the story goes on, it was like he's an idiot at first because I can see all these red flags, but then halfway through the story, it begins like very clear that this is abusive and not like his fault. Um, it it like have you heard that a metaphor of like if you put a frog in a pot of water on a stove and you slowly turn up the heat, they're not going to jump out until it's too late and the water
right,
is
because
boiling.
they don't notice. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's definitely that. Like she's lovely to him at first, and she at first like they have fights, but she'll like make up to him, and but then she keeps like abusing him and like that whole thing. Unfortunately though, the story doesn't really foreground the abuse that way, and it's more like oh, these are the ways of a woman and like this is just what women do to men, which is downplaying what's actually happening to him. But like I also I'm not entirely sure that the story itself like endorses that as much as the narrator's just saying that.
I see. Okay.
Um yeah. And then by the last third of the story, we find out that she's Catholic and that she hates Jews, that she has lost more husbands than she can count on her hands. It shows her like he's like, okay, so your husband's dead, right? Or sorry, she like refers to plural husbands, and he's like, wait, you had two husbands? She's like, no, I had more. He's like three, and she's like more, and he's like four, and then it's like
Ooh.
she's counting on her fingers, and she's like, oh, I'm out of fingers.
It's like more than 5, less than 100?
Yeah, I forget
Oh my
what the
god.
actual number is. It might have been 18.
That's too many.
I know. Um, yeah, and
Okay,
then
but I.
what?
She's Catholic.
Yeah.
Is that a bad trait or just a fact that they're
I
mentioning?
mean, it's a bad trait because she blames the Jews for killing God.
I see. Okay. In
She's
this context,
like,
got it. Got it. Got it.
yeah,
I
she's
wasn't sure
like,
if that was like.
oh no,
Okay.
this was like written by a Jewish guy. I think
I see.
it's like a very much like shown as like, oh, like she's Catholic and extremely anti-Semitic, and
Got it.
that's
Got it. Got
part
it.
of the abuse here
Okay.
because she always finds ways to like refer to him as a Jew, like the word
That's
a Jew
concerning.
all the time.
Yep. Okay.
And
I got it.
she's like, if you're a Jew, you must not believe in God because Jews killed God. It's like something that she says.
Oh, yikes.
Um, and yeah, so Joseph is asking how her husbands have died, and she just smiles at him and pats her stomach.
Oh!
And he still doesn't get it. He's
Sir,
he's
please get
like,
your brain checked.
yeah. And then so Joseph asks more questions over the next few days, and she replies, "Quote: He who delves too deeply digs his own grave. Be happy, my sweet corpse, with everything that is given to you, and don't ask questions that have no answer." The Jew reflected on this. Perhaps she's really right. What difference does it make to me whether she eats and drinks with me or somewhere else? After all, she is healthy and her face looks fine, and I want for nothing. He decided to keep quiet.
Is it questions that there's no answer or questions that she doesn't want to answer?
I mean, she obviously has answers to all of his
That's what I'm saying. Like,
questions.
don't ask questions
She's
that
just
I can't, or like that there aren't
gaslighting
answers
him.
to. Like, there's a fucking answer to it, lady.
Yeah.
You don't
Also,
want to.
as
Also, he probably doesn't want to hear it.
yeah. Also, as the abuse progresses, she keeps calling him my sweet corpse.
No!
Big yikes.
No, thank you.
But like at
That's a
this
nickname we
point,
gotta shut down right away, thank you.
I know at this point though he's already in so deep into the abuse that it's like I can't blame him for
Oh,
any of
yep.
this. Um, and so at the end, spoiler alert, Hilmy tries to attack him because um the reader can safely infer at this point that she has eaten her husband's.
Yep.
Um, so she goes into his room and tries to attack him, but he's not there because he decided to sleep in the barn because he was going to plan his escape. Um,
Okay.
so she ends up injuring herself. Either I didn't like read closely enough, or they just didn't say how she injured herself. But he wasn't there. Her plan went awry, and she ends up injuring herself.
Okay.
Um, And like when estuaries are injured, right, they have to be able to either drink human blood to recover or to eat the salt and bread of what wounded them. But yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Um,
I just assume that she's a lot angrier now that he's not there when she went looking for him.
yeah,
Even if
but
like she doesn't explicitly know that he's trying to escape, she probably like figured it out at this point.
oh yeah, like yeah, yeah. At one point, she agrees to let him sleep in the barn because he was having. Oh wait, no. Okay,
He was having
I know
man
what it
problems.
is. Um, yeah. So it started out he was sleeping in her room with her, but
Mm-hmm.
then he started having nightmares
I
about
see.
her and that she was
I see.
drinking his blood. So
Mm-hmm.
he's like, okay, I've been having night terrors and it's been disrupting you and your sleep. So I'm gonna go sleep in the empty room on the
I
other side
see.
of the
Okay.
house. So like, and she's like, yeah, okay. So she goes into his empty room to try to attack him, but he went to the barn. So, but after she injured herself, Joseph went back and he took care of her for 3 days, preparing food for her, only to find out that she can't eat food and needs human blood. I don't think he can really fully process that human blood is what she needs, but she's throwing up everything that he gives her.
What has she
And
been eating this whole time? Like if never mind, never mind.
maybe
I understand the fever dream.
leftovers from her last husband's that she
Right, that's what I was
freezed.
wondering. Like if he had night terrors about her drinking his blood, were they actually
Then
night
and
terrors,
maybe
or
she
it's just like he's in a
was.
fever dream, like and she was actually drinking his blood, and that's how she's been able to sustain herself with
Uh-huh.
that plus her like I guess husband's blood. I don't know. This is just stressful all around. I really hope we never meet people who want to suck our blood
Yeah, just like maple syrup,
for.
human blood will last forever if it's put in a freezer.
That's not true, but sure.
Yeah, he cares for her for a few days. And the story then says that on the fifth day, she gave up the ghost. I'm not sure what exactly that means, giving up the ghost, but it gives me chills.
Okay.
Um, and then so Joseph can't actually bury her in the ground because it's frozen, because it's winter. So he makes a grave out of snow the best he can, and then he leaves. And the last line of the story is, and that ped, sorry, quote, and that peddler took up his pack and traveled on from place to place, traveling and crying out his wares. So like after that, he just keeps going, and like
I don't have any like.
it's a really sad story.
Yeah.
Like he just keeps going, even though this huge traumatic thing happened to him. And like, like that probably has to do with Jewish history because that's what Jews have done, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. No funny quips. No nothing. Cause it's.
Yeah. Ugh. I do really appreciate this story and its representation of like that men can be abused too,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I am
Sure.
not pleased if it's like representing it as like women are evil as much as like this woman is evil, or
Right.
like I think it's more like he assumes that it's normal because he's been told that this is
Mm-hmm.
just what women do.
Yeah.
When it's like that's not normal. That's you should get out of there. But then it's too late from him, and then he just keeps going.
Is that it?
No, so
Oh.
I'd like to end on a much more wholesome note.
All right.
Um,
So like, how do we come out of that? Like, if this is the end, how do we
yeah,
come back?
so we're just gonna like straight out awkwardly transition from that while acknowledging like how fucking sad that is. Um, so, I want to end with a very wholesome researcher. His name is Eliezer Sagel. Eliezer Sagel. Um, and he's like an older gentleman, I could see from his profile picture, and from the fact that he still has a very 90s webpage with
I
like
love me some.
like
Yes.
when you can post like widgets and stuff.
Uh huh.
So he's got that. But he has a lot of great content on Judaism, and he has good content on estuaries and vampires in general. I use a lot of his research in my story.
Okay.
And then the quote that he ends with, sorry, the line that he ends with, um, on his article, I thought was really good. So I'm just going to read it to you. Quote, to the best of my knowledge, Jewish sources have not recorded any vampire sightings for several centuries now. Nor is there any truth to the widespread rumors that the bloodsuckers have been recruited as fundraisers for the United Jewish Appeal. Nevertheless, purely as a precaution, parents are advised to take some precautions the next time a sweet old Bubba tells them that their precious infant looks, quote, good enough to eat. Isn't that so funny?
It's just a lot.
I mean, okay, so I guess after reading the part, like, that joke about, oh yeah, we're not hiring bloodsuckers for the United Jewish Appeal, like, that's like very dark humor. Maybe not wholesome, but maybe after the story I just read, anything seems wholesome.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the dog palate cleanser that I was going to bring to the table today.
Wait, I thought
Right, well,
I
this is
had.
me telling you why I told you to go ahead, because the one that I was
Oh,
going to pick wasn't going to be happy, so.
oh,
It wasn't going to be a palate cleanser. I don't know why I thought it
yeah,
was appropriate, and then when you asked, I
hmm
was like, actually,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
please do, because I don't.
Um, yeah, because that was a that was a doozy. Um, okay, well now that that's over, I've got some very good quotables
Okay,
from the dogs at Old Friends Senior Dog Sanctuary.
okay.
So it's like the people who are posting this trying to voice what their dogs are saying, right?
Thoughts of
Um
dog. Got it.
yeah, so
Dog thoughts. Just dog thoughts.
there's an old Chihuahua named Baby Boy,
I love it.
and he recently arrived, and he tells his fans, "I'm new around these parts, but I'm settling in just fine."
Good.
And he's just like this really old man Chihuahua. Oh, his little face is so good. Um, and then a very relatable quote from Thomas, the dog. It takes me a minute to wake up, but once I do, look out. That's me. Um, hold on.
It's like almost
Um,
a threat. I'm here for it.
yeah, exactly. And then there's two dogs, Barry and Jeff, out on a walk, and Jake says to Barry, "Hey Barry, sniff here. Something smells really interesting."
Oh.
Um,
I
and
think I've
then
seen those before where it's like they all stop at the same bush.
oh yeah, Susan.
Yeah.
Susan does that. Then on August 16th at 10 a.m., Gracie was having a really good day.
Good.
Gracie! Oh my god, and my sister's calling me. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna finish this and then I'll call her back.
Okay.
Last one. Um, and now, Prissy is, she looks like a Chihuahua mix, and she's dressed in a very beautiful dress. And she says, personally, I think everyone should dress up for dinner.
Yeah.
And
I
there we
love it.
go.
Dogs in
We've got
costumes. Good stuff.
some happy dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living their
Updating
best
us
life
on
at
their
the
lives.
senior dog sanctuary.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, good stuff. Okay, well, I might actually assist us in ending quickly this time
Okay.
because I need to call my sister back. She just moved to a really fancy apartment in New Haven
Ooh.
because she's about to start school at Yale
Ooh.
in physics and computer science.
Uh, ooh.
I know. She's so
What?
successful. I know. I need to check in with her about like if it's going to be all virtual
Mm-hmm.
or not because I know that she was pissed at the idea of having to move all the way out there just to
For all
like
online.
meet their rules of like you have to be a resident
Mm.
or like I don't know. Anyways, got a lot to catch up on with my beautiful talented sister whose name is Megan.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Megan.
Uh,
That's good.
I love it. Well,
Okay. Well,
you can find
tell.
us
Oh,
on yeah, no, I mean, I was thinking once again, this is not an ATWD fan podcast, but we are at the same time.
I mean, we are fans.
That's
That
true.
doesn't make our podcast. Well, I'm just trying to weasel my way out of feeling like I'm just copying them. So,
Yeah. So you can find us and not them on the internet at Horror Corner Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find all of our episodes. You can also find most of our past episodes on Spotify and iTunes. We're still accepting reviews there. We also accept reviews in our inbox at horrorcornerpodcast@gmail.com.
yeah. Stories, questions, concerns,
Yeah, corrections,
anything.
stories, concerns,
Animal
reviews,
pictures.
animal pictures, 200%. Yeah, okay, new request. Send in your favorite senior dog picture.
I
I don't
can
think we're
start
gonna
us
get any
off.
I was gonna say, I don't think we're gonna get any submissions, but I'll take what we can get.
You
Even if
know,
it's just me trying to Google it,
I
sending
can
it
just
myself.
bother all my friends who have dogs and be like, hey, submit your
Send me your favorite
pictures.
senior dog photo.
I'm thinking of one specific friend.
Next week we'll try to do back to school dog photos. I feel
Oh,
like.
hell yes. Okay. Also, I've decided that Susan is going to turn 13 this year.
Is this like a educated guesstimate or
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Educated. I've been saying that she's been 10 for 3 years, and I've
I
also
see.
had
I
her
see.
for 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
It's probably
but
about time that
like,
she graduates high school.
yeah, I'm now admitting it, and I'm like, I should throw her a bat mitzvah,
Mm-hmm.
or as I say, a bark mitzvah. So
I love
that is
it.
also something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for listening to us. Did you have anything else, Cody, while I went off on that? Okay,
No,
cool.
I guess my social media, I'm on Twitter, go Cody, YouTube, IDQPunk. I'm just a social
Yeah.
media whore for attention. I
Yeah.
post videos there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you are not tired of me talking over Elle all the time, you can listen to me talk over myself on my channel.
Great.
I do like gaming stuff. Sometimes talk about weird things like uh trying to think of an example. I haven't done it in a while. Anvil marriages. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Cool. Yeah, go check out Cody. They're great.
Thank you.
And I don't have any relevant social media to add. So, all right. I guess we'll see you next time then. Sounds good. I'm Elle.
I'm Cody.
This is the Horror Corner. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
What was the tagline? We don't kink shame except for murder.
We don't kink shame except for murder.